Every year I make an album of photos, an A3 album, just as something to look back on. And I try to pick a favourite photo for the front cover. In this case, this is from a trip to Ben Grianin near Kylestrom, and I'd gone through some pretty miserable weather up towards Ullapool. Even got out of the car at the viewpoint there, and had to run back to the car because of the heavy showers. But once I got up to Kylestrom, it was nice, really nice. Just that transition from cloudy to clear. Anyway, going back to January, I got this new camera, a Canon Compact, and this was my first try out on the hill. So this is a view of the Buck from Tapa North, which yeah, it's a bit of a zoom, but still quite happy with that one. Interestingly, the camera's just lost its focus, just as I was praising it. So that's the Buck from Tapa North. And then did a sunrise walk up Mother Tap of Benachie. I suppose one of the things about going from small views of photos to getting larger prints, yes, you miss some of the defects. So this one, I quite like the photo, but it also shows up how dirty the lens was, because there's a lot of little artefacts around the image of the sunrise there. And then this will be the last sizable walk that I did before March lockdown, and I think it was 21st of March or something like that. And I had a choice that day of going into the office to pick up some stuff like a chair or other bits and pieces, or going for a walk. So it was a nice day, and me being me, I chose to go for the walk instead of collecting office bits and bobs, and I think looking back it was probably the right choice. I did take heed of the guidance at the time, but my interpretation was make it a short walk and not too far. I mean, this was beyond Inverness, but just about half an hour north of Inverness, and quite a short walk, about 5 kilometres, with about 1,000 foot of ascent. Another sunrise one. And that's looking, I think the hill's called Mial na Liachachen, something like that, and this is looking south. It's Ben Wyvis up there, top left, looking over Loch Glascarnach, which in the right conditions can look really beautiful. And then this is looking sort of northwestish over to Ben Jerrig in the Fisherfield Forest. And one or two people will remember trips into that area to Shenneval, Bothy and the like. A really nice wilderness area. And then we went into lockdown, and I haven't put too many photos from that period in here, but this was a nice morning just across the road, with some mist, at least to give something a bit different to that period. But I remember the main road was really quiet, so it did facilitate a lot of the local walks we did, because it was quite easy just to wander along the A947 and then just go off one of the lanes. And this photo here, maybe not the best one that I could have picked, but it was a misty morning, and the hill that kind of became my go-to small local hill, log hill. There's not much to it, but it's a really beautiful spot. It's got a wood, an oak wood, and the river Devon just below, and there's even a log island on the river Devon. And this is in the wood on the slopes leading up to the hill. One of the things I like about the new camera, just this sort of artifact you get around the early morning sun. It either does that or it does a sort of star effect, which you can see in the next photos. I quite like that as well. That's the way it gives those sunbeams. And this was from a walk on another occasion just to the west of Log Hill, and we went to this area again. Something that we wouldn't have thought of doing maybe in the past, but just following quite a wild overgrown path into the woods, and surprising, well, maybe not that surprising. In Aberdeen you find these places just off the beaten track. Not much to them, just woodland, but really nice to explore. And there's us. I just picked this one because we're both smiling. Not always smiling, but we look happy-ish there, I think. I think I've got the phone line or power cable running up here. It looks like an antenna sticking out of my head, which some people might not find too surprising. And this walk was over beside the Devon. I think the next photo is the same from the same walk. We were amused to see that on the north side, this track here had been blocked off, or rather, there was a notice up saying, asking people not to use it. And of course, there being no people, the sheep have taken over. So we just found it amusing seeing the sheep all over the place doing their own thing. But yeah, that's another nice spot to explore, not too far away from us. And the other thing that over the lockdown period, strange, I didn't take so much notice in the past of the bird life, but we get a lot of birds in the garden. More typically a wagtail visiting quite frequently, but we had a bunch of sparrows seem to live in the grass just behind the garden, and they would pop up on the fence posts every now and again. But these two caught my eye particularly. They seem to be a little subgroup, and they're quite small. I was surprised because that fence post they're sitting on is quite not that big. I guess we all know sparrows are small, but when you see a picture like that, it maybe registers a bit more. This is from Probably when the things were loosened up a bit, so it's a bit further afield. A walk up to the relatively new path that had been built from Crivey Car Park to Gardenston. And the thing I remember most about that walk was on the way back to the car, I met this fellow. So it kept me company for about 10 minutes, hopping from fence post to fence post. And it's the first time I've really had a good close-up look at a stone chat. And we went for a walk a couple of years ago where it was the first time I'd actually seen a stone chat. We hear them a lot. When we go for a regular walk around Fyvie Loch, we hear them a lot. But we, over years I never really saw one, just heard them. And a couple of years ago I spotted one. And then this one got a good look at, as I say, about 10 minutes, 15 minutes from post to post. And then this was into July, when restrictions were, in terms of hill walking anyway, were really lifted. And I was off to Breabag. And this is the possibly famous Bone Caves, so called because bones of prehistoric animals have been found there. And aside from that, interesting caves and scenery, and leading on to quite a long walk, but straightforward, sort of up and down. I didn't want to overdo it with my lockdown legs, but as it turned out, my fitness was retained to some extent. And I think the most memorable thing about that walk was the little herd of deer that was scurrying about and posing nicely. And then this is a reminder to me of the period when I was trying to combine shopping trips in Aberdeen with walks up small hills near Aberdeen. So this is just a view of Morven from a small hill called Carngerrig, I think, somewhere near Ballater, and then a view from the same, looking into over towards the Loch Nagar area or Broadcairn area. Next here we've got a sunrise walk to Carn Aileshead. I don't know if that's the right pronunciation, but so Carn Aileshead is Gaelic for Elizabeth's cairn. I don't know who Elizabeth was, but top right is a view of Ben Rinnes. Nice colours on that walk. Maybe more so just after the sunrise. So we've got this view looking more into the Cairngorms. So this is Carn Aileshead, another sunrise walk, and it's Gaelic for Elizabeth's cairn. Don't know who Elizabeth was, but we can just see Ben Rinnes top right there, and it was a nice light, maybe more so a bit after sunrise, where we got just the colours of the heather, and that's a view looking more over towards the Cairngorm area, well, more specifically Benhaven and company. But And then that's looking more east from the same spot. And then this is a walk into a remote corner. An easy walk, but from the Glassmole area, but carrying on for a few miles east to Learmore Craig, and then I think this is the River Isla that's heading down towards Tayside. But what's nice about this area is quite dramatic crags. You have to watch where you're putting your feet because there are big holes in between the bits of ground that seem will to be filled in by moss and grass. And that's a view southeast from one of the Munros on the way back. I did this little loop walk around there. And then here's one of our sparrow friends appeared again. Just like the pose there. Now, which hill's this? Well, I know it's in Glen A, just west of Braemar. Can't remember the name of the hill, but it's good views into the Cairngorms from there. And again, a few deer around. These two in particular were keeping an eye on me on my descent. And there's one from the garden. Probably took that one for Jill. She's keen on butterflies, but I like them too, just to add a bit of variety. And the next photo, memorable to me. Yeah, it was a nice walk in a nice area, Glen Affric. For anyone who knows it, it's quite beautiful. But I decided on a walk on one of the smaller hills on the south side, and this is memorable because of the horrible descent. It really was the worst ground I covered. My own fault really, because there was a route that would have taken me down a stalker's path. But I headed down what can only be described as a boulder field covered in heather, and you just never knew when your foot was going to go into a hole. And so in retrospect, a really, really stupid route, because clearly just now you don't want to come a cropper and call it mountain rescue or anything like that. So, but I took my time with the descent, just made sure I got down in one piece. But yeah, maybe a good thing to make a mistake like that, to as long as it doesn't go too wrong, so you don't repeat it. And this was a sunrise walk. I was quite lucky here. I thought I'd missed out a bit and was just going to be stuck in the mist on Gael Carn, but so this was near Dromorter, but turned out the summit I got to, where I was surrounded by mist, wasn't the summit, which I realised it was a false summit, because looked around, couldn't find a cairn. I knew there was a cairn on the summit because I'd been there before, so I persisted. It was only about 10 minutes from getting out the cloud, and then I went from feeling that I was going to have a dismal day to quite a glorious morning. Interesting to see the sheep are all facing the sunrise as well. Maybe you could say it's just for warmth, but I like to think they're admiring the spectacle. Next walk here, Sailmore or Sailvore possibly, near Dundonald, just south of Ullapool. One that, you know, I've wanted to climb for ages. Was there one year and tried to go start the walk anyway, but in snow that was just far too deep. And me and Jill had been up to see the waterfalls here a couple of years ago, which are really nice to see just in themselves, and there's a spectacular gorge on the way up there too. But finally got round to it, and it fit the bill for the current times as well, and being a straightforward walk. So Sailvore actually turned out to be quite a pleasant walk once I got off the riverside, or the stream, the side of the burn. It was like walking up an escalator, very smooth, or maybe not smooth, but the sort of ridges of grass were like a staircase, so quite an easy ascent. And this is a view again over Fisherfield, right over to this Leagach on the horizon. And this is the Fisherfield Ben Jerrigs again, one of them. And then we're over to another. Well, this is actually, we went to fly a kite, and then it turned into an evening of watching this double rainbow that was there for, well, maybe an hour. Quite remarkable conditions, and then starts looking south, and then looking north, we had this pretty impressive sunset effect on the clouds, and also a shower. And then we're back to the trip associated with the front cover, so Benagrianan. So this was on the way there, and there was some lovely reflections in the loch. I haven't put one in from the summit, but on the way down I diverted to towards these horses that were grazing just at the bottom. This one came over for a chat. I remembered to keep socially distanced, but we did stand look at each other for a few minutes. I think it wanted its nose scratched or something, but nice to see anyway. And I guess you know, this is a walk that I'd looked at on the map for ages. So Benagrianan is up here, just behind these crags. But quite an impressive Glen Dew. You've got this quite steep crag here overlooking the Bothy that we walked out to August 2019. A lovely walk that obviously brought me back to the place. And then Sgurr an Eirgid, another one that fell into the category of, for me, sizable hill, 840 metres, but a stalker's path up, so quite an easy ascent, and just an up and down, which I think is suitable for the conditions. You know, not much that can go too wrong. Having said that, about 2/3 of the way up, I was ambushed by some keds, which I'd never really had happen to me before, and had the after effect of their bites for a few weeks. And maybe the worst thing about them is that, although they're not dangerous, they're really, really irritating, and you can't just swat them off. You have to ping them off, because they really attach themselves quite tightly. Probably overdone the photos from this one, but it was quite a nice morning. and a good view down Glenlicht. That takes me back to driving up there with Shelterstone, standing on top of the minibus, which you probably wouldn't get away with these days, I suppose, and also camping in beside the bothy and having my tent ruined, and a windy day where the wind was so strong it was blowing off my feet. And then looking west from Skúravörður, and this is over to Skye. And I took this photo specifically. Well, there's a nice little inversion there, but also it's a reminder that me and Jill were there December 2005, and we'd been staying in Skye, not walking until the very last day, and we did this big walk over the Red Cullen, so up Glamig, really steep ascent, and then just looking back at this, over that one, and then this one, and then this one. It's a long walk. Maybe I'm feeling my 53 years there, but we seemed to fly over that, and it was windy. It was about probably 30 mile an hour gusts, so Jill was really struggling, being quite lightweight. Me with my extra inertia, I was held down a bit. So you see, it's not always bad to have a mountaineering paunch. And there's me on Skúranútha. I'd gone to this hill because there was deer stalking on the other side of the glen, which I hadn't thought to check. I don't think there would be any, but there was, so this was a plan B sort of thing. And Jill says that's me grimacing, so I'm probably too tired to smile properly. But I was smiling inside because it was a surprisingly good view out over the Inner Hebrides, so a good view of Egg and Rum and Skye, and this the Moat Loch in the foreground. So and then had a walk to a small hill with I thought what might be good views. This was on Skye, and it's a wee hill that connects onto Garvan and to Blaven. There's a view of Egg, the Isle of Egg, and then panning round. Also got a good view of Skúrnastree and the Rum Cullen beyond. And then here's my my trip to a small hill near Aviemore, whose name escapes me, but I got a prize from Scottish Hills for the report, which is very kind of them. It wasn't that great a report, but a nice misty morning and really nice colours on the trees. Male Dew, I think it's called. So, and then the photo I quite like was probably a photographic defect, but I think I quite like how that lens flaring merges in with or complements the mist above the river. And then this is a walk out to, initially I was going to go to the Northern Cairngorms, but it was so busy I diverted round just a bit further west, up Glenfeshie a bit to another hill whose name escapes me. Eilrig, Carn Eilrig, if that's the right pronunciation, but a lovely morning with that mix of, broken up Louth and blue sky, and a great view of Scourgui. That's where Bracken had their first Munro ascent. Well, one and only, I should say. And then this one is at more between Aviemore and Fort William. Again, the name escapes me, but it'll come back to me. But good views over the lochs, and there's me. And maybe more the highlight was the reflection in the loch as the sun was going down. The name is coming back to me. One of these is Ben Shuas and one is Shios. I guess it's Shuas I was on. And then surprisingly good ascent here of Little Conval, which is one of the two sort of pudding-shaped hills beside Ben Vinnis. So, this one's got a trig point, and then we've got Ben Egan just beyond there, and also a view over to the coast. And then looking the other way towards Ben Vinnis, could just make out some people near the summit there. And that's towards the end of the year, and this is the last walk I was on, which is over to Glen A again. And this time sort of heading westwards. Nice colours, bit of snow, quite a wintry feel to the day. It started off quite with poor visibility and drizzled, but turned out quite nice. And we got a nice walk along this this ridge. It's really just sort of like a viewing platform for the Cairngorms. And the last image there, this one of the little subsidiary pointy peaks on Ben Avon or Ben Avieri, which I haven't been to, so that's on my radar for maybe this spring or summer if we get back in the hills then. And the last thing is the back cover, which I've also taken from the trip to Ben Agrianan. And this is more up towards the about the halfway point, so a good view of Loch Dew and the Bothies in about there somewhere. What I'd like to do is extend that walk up behind these crags here, just get a view back west from there. And then this is the I think it's called the Moyne Thrust, sort of a inclined tectonic plate, possibly. That's probably the wrong terminology, but what I'm just interested in, the cliffs are really nice to look at, and there's a waterfall in amongst that as well. The other things that I like about this particular photo, just the way a little patch of blue sky is caught in the loch, and down at the bottom right there some waves on the loch, and it's just a wild area there. There's nothing there. People talk about Fisherfield as maybe being the last wilderness of Scotland, but I think this is a competitor area, maybe less well known because there are a few big hills, but really beautiful area. And that was 2020, or part of it.